The term in to out is almost dogmatically accepted as a valuable way to approach a golf ball. It was actually controversial when it first popped up 100 years ago. Percy Boomer was an early advocate of it, and of course Ben Hogan later in the century. Now, it referred to the path of the club as it approached the ball. If you think of a line from the target through the ball to infinity, the club would approach from this side of your side of the ball, go through the ball at impact, and go beyond the line to the outside, into out. Now, Percy Boomer thought that it should feel that way, but he didn't actually explain the mechanics of why it was beneficial. And I don't remember that Ben Hogan talked much about the feel, so I'm going to talk a little about the mechanics of in to out. Why should it be the feeling that's beneficial, according to Percy Boomer? At address, we're creating shapes, and the body, if you think of it, is the building of a windmill, and the vanes are the things that are moving. And in the case of golf, it's the shoulder yoke, the arms and club, and they're in a particular shape at address. If we're smart, we put some effort into making that consistent and effective. And we take those shapes and we move them through the backswing. And as Percy Boomer pointed out, it's the body, the pivot as he called it, that moves the swing. So we take these shapes and we start moving. Now, the club isn't moving fast enough to drag us into any new shapes because of its inertia. And so we can get all the way to at least halfway through the backswing in those same shapes. So you see a lot of younger champions checking their waggle back about here, where they look at the shaft and see it's still pointing at their middle, the club's still tilted with the body angle. And it's only after that that things start to change, because in anticipation of applying force on the downswing, which is the really important bit, the arms and club have to change shape, but they do it in a very specific way, and it really doesn't vary from one golfer to the next. It just varies when they do it. So this shape, as we get about halfway through the backswing, starts to revolve because the right arm is going to start sinking down eventually. Now, some people get to the end of the backswing with it still in this more upright position, Jack Nicklaus, Freddie Couples, and some people by now have already started to put it in the position that we'll need for the downswing. So the right shoulder and elbow rotate so that the elbow is looking down, and the shaft ends up pointing to what they call laid off, but it really isn't. It's on plane with the swing, if you think of the golf swing as a windshield wiper blade. So as you move into those shapes ready to apply force, then as you pull down, the weight of the club and its momentum in that direction are now a much more significant factor than they had been as you were starting the backswing. So you're pulling down, it's resisting you, and therefore it's squeezing you into these shapes. Also, it is bringing the left arm closer to your body. Now, that means that the club is at a retarded position relative to your body turn. With the backswing, the club and the body move together. With the downswing, the body goes first and the club's lagging over there somewhere. And so the body gets much deeper into the downswing turn at an earlier stage comparative to the club. And that can be very inconvenient, because if at any point prematurely we then start to release all of this pent-up energy that has now been developed, then we're going to go what they call out to in, over the top, and that generally doesn't work out very well, although it doesn't cause a slice because it's more likely to shoot the ball to the left. It's the resisting going to the left that ends up being a slice. And so we have to maintain those shapes. We have to keep them. Well, we only have turning the body really as an easy application of force on the downswing, but we have to use a different one. And that's quite simply this. All of these authors suggest in their own particular way that the arms and club are sinking down rather than moving forward. They're completely correct. And the reason is because even though the body is turning in this direction, particularly think the hips and legs, the shoulders are going to be tilting in this direction. And in fact, Leslie King, a great teacher from London many years ago, thought that there should be no intentional turning of the shoulders back to the target as a way of motivating the downswing. Interesting. So we're going to actually be dropping particularly the right shoulder down to maintain these shapes long enough that when they spring through the ball, they're not traveling out to in and downwards, which is inconvenient and doesn't work very well. Now, there's one more feature about the application of force, which is that when these shapes are being acquired, if you look at great athletes of any sport, soccer, golf, they have a valley between their shoulder blades on their back. That's an athletic shape. And that's actually a source of great power in golf because it's like a spring leaf. When they get to the end of the backswing and they feel the resistance of this club, the shoulders are being squeezed together. Good authors have encouraged that. And of course, these big muscles in the front are being stretched. And that is maintained for the first half of the downswing, those shapes, and only used as a great source of power to spring through the ball as a consequence. So that's the leaf spring. And then finally, the right hand. If you look at some of the champions' golf swings, I think of Ben Hogan, I think of Mickey Wright, Sam Snead for that matter, halfway through their downswing, the club face, and let's say the right arm, hand, is still looking at the sky. You'd say, well, that's going to shoot the ball miles to the right. If I do an into-out swing with that, I'll just push the ball into the right trees. But here's the thing. Remember, the elbow and the shoulder have both bent into this shape. And if you get the arm in this shape, as if you're losing at arm wrestling, my brother's very big. I used to lose all the time. As you pull down in this shape, you don't have to roll the wrist to make the club square and to make a solid contact with the ball. You actually just have to straighten out the arm. And if the arm is bent and then you keep that shape as you're coming down and then straighten it just well timed as you're approaching the impact with the ball, the club will have turned subtly to the left like a gate and be resistant to the impact with the ball and possibly the ground.